thank you for being here tonight. My presentation is basically just a walk through town, but really what I want to do is spur on your thought process and then answer your questions about what we have going on. And I'm happy to answer the questions as we go along too. If you're like a serial question asker, probably, you know, keep them to a limit if you can until we get to the end, and then we can just knock them all off until everybody's done. And I know Bill will tell me we have a limited amount of time, so I don't want to abuse that either. And I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. Now, it's a coincidence that it's back to school night, but you know, we got something else to do tonight, right? We'll let the younger set take care of that at Poolesville Elementary School, although I know grandparents are welcome. All right, so I'm Jim Brown. I'm the president of the Poolesville Town Commissioners. I've been the president for something like 10 out of the last 12 years, and then I've been a commissioner since 2007. Along with my friend Lynn Coing here in the audience, we started the Fair Access Committee in 2018, and that's basically the lobbying arm for the town of Poolesville. So it's not unseeming to have the elected officials do the lobbying, right? But we just thought at the time we needed people that were really focused on lobbying and getting the resources and getting recognition for what resources were needed here in the Up County that we've been lacking for many, many years. And we tell the story all the time about how our county council member, who shall remain Roger Berliner nameless, and we had to ask Roger, and Roger would come and ask Link or myself or whoever, you know, right before we were having a meeting that he would be doing a presentation. Hey, what's going on in Poolesville? You know, what's happening? So that was, once we realized that we were faced with that, we had to come up with a committee that was separate that would do the lobbying for Poolesville. So before I get into the walk down Main Street, know that some of the things you're going to see about the walk down Main Street are as a result of Fair Access and the predecessor to Fair Access, which was actual town commissioners doing lobbying on an individual basis, sometimes together. But you know, we brought the game to the politicians, something that we had never really done before in Poolesville. It was great to be the quiet little burg up here that really didn't need anything according to the elected officials down there, come up and have dinner at Bassett's. Life was good. We didn't want things. So now we want things, and we keep wanting things. And they've already given us, you know, if you add in Crossvines and you add in, obviously, Poolesville High School, you add in the community center that's coming, you add in, hopefully, the pool bubble, you talk about the complete remake of Fisher Avenue coming up through Streetscape, you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars of investment that we've driven here over the last 10 years, let's say. So, and I don't think we had hundreds of millions of dollars worth of investment in the whole 100+ years that we were around before that. So, so the goal was to really envision what Poolesville would look like. I always said in our meetings, we've got to envision, this is how long I've been doing it. We said Poolesville 2020, it was so far off. But Poolesville 2020, Poolesville 2030, Poolesville 2050. So that's been our goal, is to focus on the bigger picture and the longer picture for Poolesville. As we take a walk down Main Street, last year when I did this, I started up on this end of town where, you know, we could talk about the pool, et cetera, the high school. But on this time, I'm going to talk about the other end of town and walk our way up that way. And again, if you have questions about things, I'm happy to have them. I know there's going to be questions about development. I don't mind talking about that at any point in time. I'm going to preface it with upfront. Development has been, and what you're seeing taking place right now in Poolesville, which is shocking to some people. And you know, I'm on the streets, right, talking to people every weekend. I'm trying to get people to move here, essentially. And I'm talking to them about that, and it's a shock. They're like, what happened to the little town that we had? And we just heard that Poolesville was a nice little town, and it looks like there's building going everywhere. Well, I mean, we do have building going on in very visible places right now, and we understand, the town commissioners understand, all of our boards and commissions understand that this is a pretty amazing confluence of all these developments coming together at the same time versus being spread out over periods of time. But the timing is actually really good because we're going to be remaking Fisher Avenue coming up, and you guys have heard me talk about streetscape. You've probably heard me talk about 5 years ago, 10 years ago, et cetera. But we actually have the money coming in, and Fisher Avenue is going to be remade to be pedestrian friendly, to be commercially friendly, to be safety for cars. Right now, it's basically it's a hodgepodge that has grown together, and we've tried to make it the best that we can make it. Heck, we didn't even control the road up until 4 or 5 years ago. That's why you saw terrible pedestrian crossings, and you didn't see the beautiful red stripes that we have now and the flashing lights. We didn't have those. Poolesville was a dangerous place to cross the street, at McDonald's or anywhere else. Very dangerous. So we made a concentrated effort to dig in, procure the ability to work on Fisher Avenue. We don't necessarily own it, but to make Fisher Avenue over. And then we drove again the advocacy bus to try and get the money to come in so that we could remake Fisher Avenue for the future. Again, Poolesville 2020, Poolesville 2030, Poolesville 2050. We have to think about what the future is going to be like when, I'm not sure I'll be here. Hopefully everybody else will be here at that time. But that's the goal, is we have to keep an eye on what this place is going to look like. And we have to be the guardians of that, right? You're electing us to be, making decisions every day about things that happen with Poolesville. But someone has to work on what is the vision of Poolesville going to be like in the near and distant future. That's why we have the boards that we have. Our planning commission is very future focused. That's why we have our Parks Board. That's why we have all of our wonderful volunteer organizations, WUMCO, Poolesville Seniors, everybody. I just view us as a big team. And we take input from all those teammates, and we try to figure that out, what that means for Poolesville in the future. So starting at the far end of town, there's a development going in, right? Gary Hartz is building a development there. And you would look at that and go, oh God, all we need is more $1 million mansions in Poolesville, right? What happened to that nice little town that we had? Pretty strategic what's going on there. So a number of years ago, the town rezoned our outer fringes in several places. So we'd have what we call RDT, which is rural density transfer. And that means you're not going to build, like if someone were to ever build an apartment building in Poolesville, God forbid what that would be like. But if somebody were to build an apartment building in Poolesville, you wouldn't build it on the outskirts of town. No infrastructure, no walkability, no bringing resources to those places, you wouldn't do it. So the goal is way back a long time ago, restructure our zoning, have it be farmland, then goes to bigger estate lots, then goes to neighborhoods, and then goes to more density neighborhoods right in the downtown zone where everybody can walk. And we can have vitality and vigor and strollers and just have, if you're going to have density somewhere, you have it there. I'll talk about development a little bit more in a minute about that aspect of it. So that end of town, remember, property rights matter. Here's a homeowner that down on that end of the town has every bit of the zoning they need. Forget their RDT. The zoning exists for people like that to build houses on their properties. So I know that there's a lot of conversation, but the people in this room, you're all politically aware and you're astute. I know this. But when someone else owns the property, if we want to control what happens with the property, essentially we work with that person to get what's the best town goal out of that property. So Gary Hart's best use of that property is bigger estate lots, have the town like an accordion where it's dense in the middle and it stretches out on the ends, and then fades itself into the farmland that we all love as Poolesville, that surround Poolesville as part of the Ag Reserve. So we've got estate lots coming in down there. Also very low traffic impact, not a big deal for traffic to be in and out of there. As the speed limits stretch out a little bit, you can have a little bit more bigger lots and less density down there. You're coming up Fisher Avenue. People complain to me about the intersection at Spates Hill Road and Fisher Avenue. They have a right to complain about that. It's a weird intersection in a town that has had some weird intersections. We don't control that. We weren't allowed to take over the use of Fisher Avenue beyond Wooten and Fisher behind the CVS. We were only able to go to there. Also, the town didn't want to take your taxpayer money and my taxpayer money and then get into taking over like another mile of road that becomes all of our collective responsibility. We didn't want that. So Spates Hill Road and Fisher Avenue is a place where we are focusing on with our state people and their state DOT to remake that intersection somehow. It's way wide. It's unsafe. There's sightline issues coming from one direction. Not good. And it seems like every year we have something that almost happens there or does happen there. We've had residents clipped. It's not good. So we're working on that with those guys now. I want you to please tell all your neighbors and friends that we are working on that, so they don't need to write me. They can if they want to. And I definitely get emails on it, and that's fine, because I know we probably have too much change on this end of town, and where's the change on that end of town? So that's something that we are working on, is try and make the intersection of Spates Hill and Fisher even better. Both sides of the road over there, it's going to stay status quo. Talk about Poolesville 2020, Poolesville 2030, Poolesville 2050. You could probably drive down the road and all that's going to look exactly the same for the next God knows how long. And that's a good thing. That's by plan. You're coming up Fisher Avenue. You're going past the Catholic Church. You're going by my house. Thank you for beeping the horn. I'll wave. A lot of times I'm just like this, whoever that was. Thank you for that. It's good. You're coming back up through Fisher Avenue. Now you're going to be approaching another development that's taking place there. Small houses taking place. Water allocation, been in place for forever. Very small water allocation. Another instance of the town working with the property owner to get something that resembled the proper density, having it do it safely, and also limiting the use of development in that tool. So that property that's essentially right next to my house on Fisher could have 6 houses built on it. But instead, through our process, Planning Commission, Parks Board, town commissioners, zoning, town staff, etc., there's 3. So if you think that it's like development's willy-nilly, I'm painting a picture for you to how these things are somewhat limited as time goes on. There's a shaping of how this works. We didn't think it was proper to have too many cars coming out of it. There's sightline situations. Keep in mind, the homeowner, again, has property rights, okay? They have zoning. That's half-acre zoning right there in that spot. There's 3.5 acres next to my house. 3.5 acres, half-acre zoning means you could potentially have 6 houses. So that's been shaped to be smaller. They're kind of estate houses, but they're really going to be more like neighborhood houses when the time comes, built by a builder that's going to build something interesting. So the town worked with the property owner and the builder. We've got something coming in. I don't think they've sold any of those houses yet, so who knows how long that process is going to take there. Still coming up Fisher Avenue. Now you're approaching where the traffic circle is going to be. Oh God, a traffic circle. Why do we need a traffic circle? Oh, it's so bad. Actually, in my mind, so good. And I was one of the people that had to be convinced of it because I really wasn't a huge fan of it there. But I can tell you, living as close to that area that I live, I can hear the screeching brakes. I can hear the crossing guard blowing her whistle multiple times trying to get people to stop there. A difficult intersection for us. Not only is speed an issue, but the way the intersection comes together, not great. So what we've proposed, and it's part of our streetscape plan, is a traffic circle. It's been vetted through the farmers. Don't worry about their equipment. Fire department, they always have last say on any of this stuff to make sure the intersection can be handled properly. But the funding exists for a traffic circle there. Will it eventually get there? We will see. I'm not 100% sure yet it will, because it may take every cent that we have to redo the rest of Fisher Avenue to make it safe and to reconfigure the lanes and add the sidewalks, add the bike lanes, make it so that Fisher Avenue really is safe from the beginning to the end.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
Up top. Look up.
Oh, sorry, John. Yeah, I'm so over here, yeah. I knew you were here somewhere.
In the meantime,
Yeah.
while we're waiting for the traffic circle,
Mm-hmm.
everybody's going to yell at me. Have they thought about a 4-way stop there?
They have, yeah.
That would be interim.
Yeah, well, we may end up doing something like that, but we rely on professionals to help us make those decisions on that one. It's problematic. That intersection is problematic. We think this traffic circle is probably the best of all solutions. And yes, there would be 2 crossing guards there in the morning and in the afternoon. That's one of the big concerns that people have, how that works. So, sure.
How are you going to accommodate pedestrians and bike riders during the day when there aren't crossing guards there? Because that's a very active intersection.
Look at other traffic circles and see how they accommodate them. They are accommodated. There's wide sidewalks on it all the way around. There's also sloping areas. There's like transfer areas that are built into it. They have a plan, and I could send it to you. So if
Are you
yeah.
telling me you're still going to maintain pedestrian crossing lights
At that intersection,
Check with,
yes, likely yes.
I
Yeah.
haven't seen that configuration. I really
It won't be right
didn't-
at the intersection. That's not, the plan is not necessarily right at that intersection. It'll be backed off one way or the other. So, yeah, you don't want cars entering and having to stop because the pedestrians and entering the thing. They've got a plan for it. And I can't sit there and tell you I know every single aspect of it. I just know that it took me from, probably like you, I was a complete skeptic on whether we needed it or not, or how that would work.
I'm a fan of traffic circles.
Okay,
I'm just concerned about pedestrian crossing at times. Others
so are we.
crossing guards.
So are we. And we know we've had some tight situations as it stands right now without the traffic circle.
So it
Yeah.
seems like there's an interest with people about traffic circles. Is there a committee they could start getting involved with to help with the planning?
I'd say when we get a little closer, what I would say is that it should become, and not that, we already have an approved plan. The fun part about that is the approved plan, traffic technology changes. So when we sit there and say, hey, we put together this plan 10 years ago, well, there's a new mindset about some aspects of those plans. So I'm sure we're going to reopen that and have further conversations about it. And it will go through our planning commission. And John, and that's something that we would ask our planning commission to have a complete review of. We're just now securing the funds after being told we were getting them 5 years ago. So we still got a process going on. And that is the hardest part of the plan. The rest of it going up Fisher Avenue is pretty much good city planning that's going to take place as you go up there, and the reconfiguration of it. You know the usuals: pedestrian islands, traffic slowing devices, thicker markings, bike lanes, better crossings for pedestrians, better. We're one of the few places that has a turning. When you pull up to McDonald's, it's 4 across right there, right? That's dangerous as heck. So we're going to turn that'll be turned into one middle turning lane for both sides, and then lanes that go through with sight lines. So that's part of what's going to happen on streetscape as time goes on. So thanks about the circle, and we'll talk about that more as time goes on. That's going to be probably the last piece of the puzzle and one of the most expensive pieces of the puzzle too. All right, so yes.
Do you think that maybe at some point in time that the commissioners, the planning committee, all of the folks that are working on this together would put together a model that sort of helped people to understand and visualize?
Yeah, like a physical model, not just a drawing.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea.
I'm only thinking because we're a small town, because
Yeah.
we, go to the same drugstore and the same churches and stuff, that it might be something that would help people to understand a little bit more about what all of the folks are trying to do and accomplish. Just a thought.
So to answer that, one way is that, first of all, the streetscape plan is completely on our website from start to finish in color. So you can get in there and see kind of how all that's going to come together. Again, subject to review, this is, again, traffic technology changes. Better ideas come out. And so am I saying we're going to build it without modification? Probably not. We probably will modify as time goes on. This came out of, back in the day, then Congressman Trone. We were asked to submit for a grant, and the goal was to be in the top 50 of his grant applications that he got, because then you'd be put into consideration next level. We were number 1, and for that, I will always feel like Congressman Trone was looking out for us, and his office did that. Now, what happens? He leaves office. We have another congressperson. We have another, he tried to be a senator. The congressperson that we have right now is got a learning curve going on, and that money has not fully landed in our hands yet. So when it does, it will be reviewed. We'll talk about the circle. We'll make sure we have updated plans online. If anybody wants to, all you have to do, I love our website. We add to it every single day. Go into the search bar on the Poolesville Town website, put in streetscape, and you'll come up with that plan.
I'm looking at it right now.
There you go.
It's really easy to understand when you look at the plan.
Yeah. So we try to, and every time a resident calls, I love how interactive we are, right, guys? You know who the commissioners are for the most part. Everybody knows where town hall is. If you have something you want to talk about, all you have to do is send a note in, and the next thing you know, we're pretty quick. Hey, can you put that on the website? Okay, good. Yeah, here it is. So we've been doing a lot of that lately. But so thank you for that. And we need to remind people what we have going on. Streets, go ahead.
Does that model also show the access points for the townhouse development that's there at Fisher and?
Yes.
It does?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So how many access points will there be onto Wooten and onto Fisher?
I can't sit there and tell you right off the bat that I know that. I can tell you that the development is starting with the access on Wooten. So if you're coming up Fisher Avenue, and I was going to get to that, and I appreciate you bringing it up. You're coming up Fisher, you take a left on Wooten. The first group of those townhouses are going to be built right along that group there, and then expanded backwards towards the CVS. So we're on the subject of another development. We can just go right there. A lot of people ask the question about this, and I will hit water when all this is done, because I know that's a concern that people talk about too. The townhouse development always had allocation. The townhouse development there always had allocation. The commissioners back in the day, and I was one of them, of course, I don't think any of the people I'm with now were with me then, but back in the day, we considered that property to be so valuable that we had to make sure that something turned up there that was going to be right for the town. And I know I know for some people, right for the town means just leave it green and you're good to go. But remember, there's property rights, right? We don't own it. Somebody else owns it. They've always had zoning. It's then what do we do to work together with that homeowner to deliver something that makes sense for the town and still doesn't get us, like people say, why don't you just change the zoning? Well, that's how you get sued. That's how people, we've taken away their money. They've owned that property for a reason. They have property rights. So we work with those property owners to come up with the plan of those townhouses. Keep this in mind too, right? Poolesville is always looking to try and figure out how to make housing availability for just about anyone that wants to come here. It's not just the rich people. And I know that's what people think. But if you drive up Fisher Avenue, you have two instances right now of what we call the missing middle. One is that we needed, what better place to have density than near our parks, than near our shopping, than near our restaurants, where people can walk and be a part of the town and be part of the vibrancy of the town. The zoning exists. The people have property rights. Our job is to use your input and all the input of our committees that play a role in this and shape how those things are going to work. So townhouses made sense there. Remember when the previous owner of the property, I think was it a Sheetz or what was it that he proposed? Yeah, a 7-Eleven gas station. Now, I knew, and I would not go out in public and say this, that they just put that out there to tweak us to make sure that they had townhouses developed, right? Or that there was some other proposal. But guess what? It works. And nobody wanted to have, they call it the big red flying saucer. That's the roof of a Sheetz. Nobody wanted a big red flying saucer to land in Poolesville. So the goal was to, again, work with that home seller to make sure that something could be put in there. They had the right to build it that would make sense for the town. So that's where we ended up with what we have. Yes?
Speaking of those townhouses, is there any way possible, or is the town working with those individuals that own those townhouses to control the price? Because I heard you mention a few seconds ago that you're trying to make Poolesville accommodating to everyone. Everyone can't afford a $1 million house.
Understood. But I can tell you this, and I'm not gonna argue with you that we would all like to have cheaper prices in some way, except for the homeowners.
Not cheap.
Well, yeah, but
Affordable.
cheaper.
Less expensive.
Well, you got, everybody knows what business I'm in, right? I would be fine with that. I would absolutely be fine with that. But again, this is a free market. We can't tell people what to charge for those things. They own the property. We have forcefully limited development. And I know that people find that hard to believe, but we have forcefully limited development in town, which does not make them any cheaper. So which way do you want it? I mean, do you want, they have the ability to build houses. They have the zoning. They bought the property as an investment. We could buy the property, and by the way, that'll be our little secret is what property we're talking about buying so it doesn't get developed. But, the town could have come together and potentially purchased some of these properties, but that's not really our best use of your taxpayer money. to do that. So we really can't tell them what to do price-wise. All we can do is actually do what I think we've done well, is to ensure that whatever gets built, thinking again about Poolesville 2020, Poolesville 2030, Poolesville 2050, whatever gets built is going to last and is going to be something that's going to be meaningful for Poolesville in the next 20, 30, 50, 70 years. Like, who thought, and no offense to anybody that lives in the townhouses that are like next to Tractor Supply, who thought that those townhouses would be here 50 years from when they were built, or 60 years from when they built? They're going to be there 70 years from when they were built, right? So the job is to, again, mold and use the power of the municipality, the power of all of our committees, to try and, through public input, try to figure out what is the best use of those lands that still preserves the property rights of the home seller, while shaping what we hope will be a vibrant and interesting downtown moving forward. Price, as we move to the next development up, which is next to Town Hall, the hard-fought, Willard development that's right next to Town Hall. That development, you guys know the itinerations went through that. We went through hell. The developer submitted, the first developer they had signed up basically said, we're going to put 100 houses in here. That was insane. And I can trust, anybody can trust me in this room. We were never going to let that happen. Never. They applied for the maximum amount of sewage capacity that they could get, the maximum amount of houses that would use the available sewage that was around. So for that development, you guys, you can drive by it. It's coming out of the ground right now. You see it. They've already come to us and said, hey, the price point's going to be pretty high. Of course, the price point's high everywhere. It's not just Poolesville. And the price point on those houses is being driven partially by the fact that we absolutely insist, and we did it through our zoning, that they have to build quality houses that are going to be around for a long time. You, me, us, we're here for a certain period of time. Those houses are going to be there for 50, 70, 100 years when it comes down to it. We're talking about shaping Poolesville for the next God knows how long time period, and they have to be quality houses. And if they have to be quality houses, they're going to cost some money. And I don't love the price points, and I think the market is actually going to tell them what the price points are. And I think the price points are going to be lower than what they're expecting. I hope so too, to be honest with you. So when we got pitched this whole thing, and we've been being pitched this for a decade now, over a decade, the price points were quite a bit less. But look what's happened since 2020. The average price and house price in Poolesville is up almost 40%. You can't expect them to go back to the prices they said they were going to do it for in the past. So the whole dynamic of house buying is changing, and the market is also potentially pushing things downward, which is, to me, a good thing. It was irrationally exuberant before, and I'm hoping it's more reasonable. So I wish we had a better definition. Like other places, missing middle is different than our missing middle. They're building right now next to Town Hall houses that we don't have, houses that we've never built in Poolesville. We've either been townhomes or standard neighborhood, third acre, half acre zoning houses. They're building something different that is going to be filling out like a part of a portfolio of what Poolesville looks like in the next 20, 30, 50 years. So let's hope the market tells them it's cheaper.
So to back down.
Yeah, walk back down Fisher Avenue.
Go back to, so to one remark and one question. I have noticed, I don't know if anyone else has, I was visiting some friends over on Hughes, and that apparently is now being used as a main drag at 40, 45 miles an hour. I mean, you can't open your car door without looking because people are flying down it because they figured out you can get in down there before you get into the heart of town. So I don't know if you've heard from people along that stretch. It comes up in dead ends at the older townhouses that we're talking about, which is a lot more people, a lot more dense as you get up to that section there. So some safety considerations might be time to look at that. I'm not going to say that all the people I saw doing it were teens in cars headed for the high school, but a whole lot were. So that's just a remark.
Yeah.
But is there not another development further along across from the high school, that little plot of land?
I'll get up there.
Okay, good.
I'll get up there.
Forget it.
I'm headed there. I'm headed there. But let me say this about it too, you guys. This is a secret that you can keep inside this room. Anytime you see one of our devices that's telling you you're speeding, we're actually doing a survey of all the speeds that are taking place there. So we're watching the speeds. And at one point, and I don't want anybody to freak out over this, and if you say you're going to sue us, I will deny that I even said it. I know it's on tape. Just cut that off. But we've also run tags and seen who are the speeders. And the good news or the bad news is it's us. It's us. It's not just those damn high school kids or the landscapers or the construction traffic that's doing it. It's us. So it's like Ancestry.com. You don't run it unless you already reconcile to yourself what you might find out. And we've done that already.
I understand when they were installing the speed hump in front of my house, the speed humps, if you go 20 miles an hour or less, you'll be okay going over them. There's a road I go down that I go looking for dinosaur footprints in Prince George's County. The speed humps there say 5 miles per hour, and you really have to slow down at 5 miles an hour.
So the qualification, believe it or not, they have different qualifications for use of the speed hump versus speed bump. And as I recall, we don't have necessarily all the right qualifications to put speed bumps in versus speed humps. But we'll talk about Hughes and the speedway. We know that people are using it as a bypass to get down to there, and I can talk about police too as part of a enforcement mechanism. So, go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, again, with that development next to Town Hall.
Yeah.
Do you know how many access points there are to Fisher as opposed to Elgin?
So I linked, do you know?
I think it's just one.
Yeah. So
Everybody has to compete into one.
You can come inside from the town hall.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so on Fisher 1 and on by Town Hall 1, but not down Selby and coming in from Tama. And I don't want to incur the ire of anybody in that neighborhood, but that's been discussed, and there'll probably be a few little trial balloons that'll take place on during like high event time periods like Poolesville Day.
And that's
63. Yep.
and they all have to go?
You know, it's not that, I know it sounds bad at face value, but you look at, so Brightwell Crossing, not Brightwell Reserve, Brightwell Crossing itself is 100 houses. So we're talking about 63 and Brightwell Crossing has essentially nobody drives through Tama to get to Brightwell Crossing. So there's one entrance. How bad is that intersection? Not bad at all. So that's where that, yes, sir.
Can you get into the new neighborhood down Glass Way?
No, there's an entrance, there's going to be an entrance through essentially the town hall parking lot area on that side, but not coming up Glass Way or getting that. That was heavily refuted back in the day when talking about the creation of that development. So likely, the answer is no right now, but likely no for some time period too. Yeah, there's some people that actually did want it, but for now we just decided to keep the temperature down and go that direction. Yeah, Matt.
Jim, I have a question about that.
Yeah.
The site plan there includes extensive concrete walkways, including one along that path, Glass Way to Town Hall, as well as green areas and roads, of course, that are not a part of any individual owner's holding. Is it expected that those roads are going to be deeded over to the town?
Yes. So they will likely be deeded over the town, but there is going to be an HOA in that development, which will be our first single-family home HOA in Poolesville.
So the expectation is that the concrete walkways and the green spaces will be the responsibility of that HOA?
Likely. Professionally managed, et cetera. So again, I hate to be fuzzy about this. We did all this 4 or 5 years ago. So I'm just trying to come back to it now that it's actually a reality. But that's a good question. Link, go ahead.
Jim, I was on the planning commission
Yeah.
in '96 and three different master plans and the Parks Board, so we went through a lot of this. And just to put it in a bigger context, I think right now there are 1,900 homes in Poolesville. All of these developments together, I think, are around 100 homes.
Yes, yeah.
And the entire ag reserve, this part of the ag reserve, which is Maryland Balconies District or One Coast District, there are 1,500 other homes. So we're not that many more homes here than there actually are on the rest of the ag reserve.
Yeah, so it's important to keep that in mind. And you guys, this is our third master plan that has a population cap. And I want to make sure we know this because people, I've said this before in other speeches, and I've said a population cap of 6,500 people. People think we're racing to get there. Like, how fast can we get there? That's not been the plan. What you're seeing right now with these developments that are coming online, basically the 4 developments that you know about right now, and I'll give you some heads up on the ones that have been speculated about. The 4 developments that are coming online right now still keep us well below 6,500 people. So that's, again, we're not racing to get there. And that's the level that all of our infrastructure says we are very comfortable with, despite what you might read from the Facebook experts about how our water allocation works. And I'll talk about water in a minute. So we've just brushed a little bit on the development that's going to be taking place at the old Willard property. Again, here we are right in the middle of saying, how do we make this town vibrant? How do we make this town vital? How do we grow without growing? How do we get businesses interested in coming here and being great for all of us without promising that we'll have 10 or 12 or 15,000 people? I mean, this is called threading the needle, people. We're trying to listen to you. We know what you want. I wouldn't be the town president of the town commissioners if I stood up and said, everybody, we hear you loud and clear. Oh, by the way, I'm a real estate agent. We're going to have 20,000 people in this town. We're going to just grow. We can grow all over the place. We hear you loud and clear. There's not one person that's not on any of our boards that doesn't have the long-term vision and mission of it in place, including a really smart planning commission that keeps a very close eye, and by the way, is independent of the commissioners in terms of their planning processes. So,
Jim,
yeah.
I have a question.
Sure.
And I think it would be good if you could answer it for us, because I think I have heard people say, and it
Yeah.
troubles me, that the article that link that you were involved with in July in the Monaco was very specific to say that the commissioners, right?
Yes.
Our commissioners and our planning board
Mhm.
are different entities, but commissioners are elected, if I understood. Liz.
That's correct, yes. Yeah.
The planning board
Is appointed.
Appointed.
Yeah.
And I would like very much for people to stop thinking that the planning board was appointed based on what the commissioners wanted,
Right.
rather than what the commissioners have been working very hard to put in place for
Mhm.
a number of years. And so, could you help me with that?
So the funny part about this is that, yes, we are elected, and everybody knows that. Our terms are staggered terms. We really don't get a chance to develop a consistent board, which is a good thing. We've had people come and go off the commissioners, the power of the people. 1 year I won by one of the biggest margins ever, and 1 year I won by 8 votes, and I was down by 40 with about 5 minutes left. So I had like a comeback like whoever did it to the Ravens this weekend. So that happened. Sorry, I didn't make anybody groan on the Ravens. But yes, so what it comes down to is we actually have, when we've appointed and interviewed for our planning commission board, well, again, which is a state mandated independent board from the commissioners, we're not looking for like kind-minded people. They'll say, because we don't even have our collective vision is something we vote on in public and we talk about in public. I can't even tell you what the thoughts are of the other commissioners necessarily about development and things like that. We are 5 individuals elected by the people. The planning commission, when we go to appointing the planning commissions, we're looking for expertise and we're looking for people that are dedicated to Poolesville. And you have to be a serious person on the planning commission. You're going to be the person that's carrying the golden chalice of Poolesville in your pocket for the next however long you're appointed for. You have to be able to be serious about taking, figuring out how Poolesville is going to grow, what we're going to be like, and how we're going to, essentially we can limit the growth too. So yes, they are completely independent from us. I have very little conversations. I don't even go to the planning commission meetings, to be honest with you, because I don't want to be a person that looks like, I'm there trying to like stare down, what other things they're talking about. It's just not the point. So, and Link actually wrote a great Facebook post because, I was getting jacked up on there about, I'm the realtor that's trying to bring down the town. And, the independence of the planning commission is a very legal entity, and something that us commissioners, we don't even ask them about their views on development. We ask them about their being able to be dedicated to the town and what level of expertise they bring to the position. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Back to
Great article, by the way.
yeah, Link does a great job, man. Again, if you need 2,000 words written on something in about 5 minutes, that's the guy. That's the guy that can do it, and he does it for us all the time. Okay, so back up Fisher Avenue. Yes, the old house is being preserved. Of course, the old house is being preserved. The Willards insisted on that. That's the Willard family home, and that was part of what that was, no matter who they talked to or what they did, that was mandated. Again, they had the zoning in that property because it's commercially zoned. They had the zoning to be able to build an apartment building. They had a zoning to be able to do townhouses. They had an ability to do estate houses. Essentially, they could do anything else. People asked us, could they have done commercial? Of course, they definitely could have done commercial. It's in our commercial zone. But did that make sense for Poolesville? If you look around, every single one of our shopping center buildings has at least one vacancy. Are we really going to put in more commercial along there, like what they call walking commercial, which might mean doctor's office, could be therapists, could be people that are lined up on there. But invariably, they end up being like nail salons. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but is that really something that what you want in an over-under where you have residents backing up to nail salons and dry cleaners and things like that? Really wasn't the right fit for Poolesville. Our commercial is definitely not sold out in any way, shape, or form. I can talk about the commercial rent structure too if you want. That's a pretty hot topic with people. So anyway, in the end, it just comes down to that the best idea was to think about what the missing middle was like. Do we have small houses? They don't look small, the ones that are being built right now, but the biggest house they can build is 2,200 square feet above grade. 2,200 square feet above grade is the equivalent of the westerly Westmont neighborhoods. They're not the equivalent of Brightwell Crossing or Tama or Woods of Tama or even Seneca Chase. They're not that. They are 2,200 square feet or below, which has given them a chance for added density and more of a village setting for that. There's also X amount, and I don't know the exact amount, of single level houses too. So I know that the affordability is not where we want it to be, but again, we don't get a chance. We could have dictated what the affordability would be like by saying you can build the cheapest house you possibly want, and they will be cheap. You know they would be cheap. So we didn't want that. We had to think about how Poolesville was going to look 50 years from now. So through our village overlay zone, we were able to extract concessions out of them, hardy plank siding, real stone work on them, quality materials across the board in an effort to make sure that that those things that are so visible in our downtown zone are going to hold up for the next 50 years. So that's what's happening there. And I think I've heard they've only sold one so far. So I'm okay with that. Let those prices come down. Let them be more realistic. We cannot continue to just jump up 5 to 10% every single year in these housing prices. It doesn't make economic sense. Wages don't keep up with it. All right, go ahead, Link. Yeah.
They've also done something really, because of that overlay zoning requirement, that you can't do in those developments. In those developments, when they come in, they basically put the streets in, the sewer and all that, and then they deed that over to the town when they're finished. And that's basically all they did, nothing else. And we also have a requirement for parkland in most cases, so we get that used. That's it. Sometimes a well. But in this case, they are building a really important walkway on the other side of the road from Fisher Avenue. And you know how dangerous Fisher Avenue is on that little road. This sidewalk's going to go all the way up to the John Pool House area, which is a great addition to the town. They're also going to put in rain gardens. I think there's 5 in the plan, which is another addition that they wouldn't have to do. And they're going to put a parking lot for the John Pool House, which is also another.
And these,
None of it had to be done, it was negotiated by the town.
right. So instead of 98 estate houses crammed into one area, that got winnowed down to 63 houses, lots of green space, lots of recharge area, very important, right? Lots of recharge area, and then this parking lot, dedicated pathways, a way for us to enjoy our downtown area as we grow into what will likely be a cultural arts zone, which is again going to be people-friendly, shopping-friendly, walking-friendly by Old Town Hall and down that way. Again, we're thankful for locals. We're thankful for Riverworks. We're thankful for the ability to potentially have a cultural arts zone that's going to make sense down there. So that development that's going up on the side, a lot of extractions of what we needed to do. One was to build it for the long term. 2 was to have the dedicated parking area. 3 was to have all the pathways. Notice they have to bury the electrical lines, which is really expensive, but that's a requirement for us anytime you do something. Our streetscape plan, they're now going to be in control of the streetscape along their stretch of the road, which frees up money for us to put those resources into other places in streetscape. So I walked you down all the way from one end of town to our main intersection at Bassett's. If you keep going down the road, 2 improvements that we're working on. One is, again, if people have heard me talk about this for probably 20 years, about redoing the intersection where Stony Springs can walk across to the pool. We don't control that again. That's not our deal to be able to do that. It's actually the county owns that section. Is it county? I think it's the county, right? Yeah. So it's county, and we petitioned them, and we've actually gone to them that we're the little town that could, right? We don't just go complain to the county people about stuff. We actually have our engineers put it together and show them what the solutions are, and then hopefully they embrace the solutions. So with any luck, we'll have better accessibility to the pool. Why? Because we want to make the pool a year-round facility, and that's something that we've been working on very hard for the last couple of years. Link and myself and some other members of the commissioners and our town staff, we've traveled all over the eastern area looking at pool bubbles so that we can go to the county and say, we're going to contribute to it through grants. It's not necessarily coming out of taxpayer dollars. Well, taxpayer dollars diluted down everybody else's taxpayer dollars, not necessarily ours. Taxpayer dollars, and we can show you how to do it. And we have the state backing us, so our delegation, that's their job, is to deliver bucks to Poolesville, as far as I'm concerned. Make the case to them. So we've picked up now, and I think we're over $500,000. The bubble itself is only $500,000 to do it. You have to build some more infrastructure around it. The pool building itself has to be rebuilt because it's not a year-round facility. But in the end, the biggest commitment will be, and we need all of you in this room to help us with this, is convincing the county to staff that building and that facility year-round. So we've determined, we were nice about it before, we're still nice about it, but we're mad because why don't we count enough to have those type of facilities? Why is it just because, hey, county, you told us we have to be small. You put the ag reserve in all the way around us. We love that, thank you. We love being in our own little island out here. But at the same time, it's been mandated that we're going to be a certain size. So we should have less because we're a certain size, because you told us we need to be a certain size. We can't have less. You guys have needs. Young families have needs. Our family has needs. Do we not deserve to have a year-round type exercise facility or pool facility like people do in other places in the county? Of course we do. And our motto when we founded Fair Access was, even though we have less people, we don't count less. So we're working on the pool bubble. With any luck, I've got another year and a half in office, or a year and a couple months in office. I mean, the goal is to really secure that pool commitment before I'm out, and that we can go ahead and have that nailed down. It's actually can be in a budget off in the distance a little bit, so we can just fight to keep it in the budget. We've done that with the community center. That's going to be another potentially $15, $20, $25 million facility that is going to come into our town. These are things we need. Have you ever tried to rent a gym in Poolesville? It's really hard, right? You can pay $30 an hour or $35 an hour for the Baptist church. Good for them. I like the Baptist church. I'm glad they have the gym. But otherwise, it's really tough to get a gym. So we're going to have the community center has been completely vetted out by the county. again, they would go to other communities when they talk about building a facility, and they would do a POR, it's called Program of Requirements, and they would do this POR study where they would interview groups in the town or in the area that would use it so they can right-size the community center. So they usually get 5 or 6 groups. Poolesville had 28 groups interviewed. And we put it all together. So again, the silver platter was handed over to the county. Look how much need we have. Look how we're going to use this community center. Look how you need to right-size it so that it works for a community, not just Poolesville, but the surrounding Western County community. And on top of it, we gave them the land to do it. And it was land that we got with a grant when I first became a commissioner. Link was a commissioner back then. We had some vision. We're like, we're going to use this land for something someday. And then next thing you know, we handed over to the county for $1, but they're going to give us a community center. It is in the budget. We just have to stay on top of them.
Where will it be?
Yeah, thank you.
Community center, where do you live? We're still looking for land. No, I'm just.
You have to be a member of my family for me to. As you
Obligate that, yes.
In order to be able to subdivide the acreage.
We can work with you. No, it's going to go at Dr. Dillingham Park, which is right behind McDonald's. So where the skate park is now, there's a whole section of that that's going to turn into the community center as time goes on. So this is not, and this is in the 29-30 budget, 2029-2030 budget. But one of the things we do as Fair Access and the town commissioners have done is when we get together in our lobby, we have a big breakfast before Poolesville Day. So we're going to be lobbying. We have every single important official, elected official in Maryland is coming to Poolesville on Poolesville Day and coming to our Poolesville Day breakfast. And all of our elected officials, appointed officials, et cetera, their town people, Maria, our seniors, you guys, we just need you to lobby. If you're going to be there, you twist grab handshakes, twist wrists, et cetera, to A, keep the community center in the budget and make sure it stays funded through the budgeting timeframe, and then B, get the county to commit to this pool bubble. I'm focused on bricks and mortar, guys. My job, I'm luckily surrounded by people that care about people. I still care about people, but my job as a commissioner, I've always had it as the president of the town commissioners, is to drive the dollars to Poolesville. We get the investment, the people stuff will come. But we have to have that investment or else we don't do anything. All right, so pool bubble, down the side. Keep on going. What if we went down Fisher Avenue and further down Whites Ferry Road? What do you think you're going to see there? There's only 2 things. One is that there's been some talk about a data center. And luckily, the people that oppose things in this area are fighting that battle against the data center. And I think they'll be successful. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but the communities across the country are fighting the idea of data centers. We have good people in place that are doing that. The other is getting Whites Ferry reopened. Oh, don't applaud yet. But I'm with you on that. But let's talk about Whites Ferry for a minute. This is a funny story, you guys. It's funny and sad at the same time. We can all cry and laugh at the same time. So we were the ones, Poolesville is the one, the community that has driven this. You have driven this. We have driven this. If Poolesville had said, you know something, let those greedy buggers keep their money and let's stop fighting this battle. I mean, I've wanted to do that several times because we've been involved in the thick of it, and it's very frustrating, as you can probably tell. So everybody knows and can tell by reading the newspapers, it's been Chuck Kuhn versus the people on the other side, and there's all kinds of misinformation and boastful talk, and we'll donate it, and then, well, actually just wanted to donate the rusty old boat and not the landing. So thank you for that, Chuck Kuhn. So we appreciate this huge humanitarian gesture that we're going to be able to, that you're going to donate something. So, but not the landing. If you want to use the landing, totally different thing. So he's playing the same game, the landing availability, as they are on the other side. So if you've come into this room tonight and you wanted me to say something bad about the other side and then give our side a pass, that's not happening. They're both bad, and they're both greedy. And this situation has been hard fought and through a lot of misery, a lot of work on, believe it or not, on behalf of our county, not the other county, And a lot of on our state DOT, well, not as much as we want them to be involved, but they've still been involved to some degree. You're talking about governor's office, et cetera. Really nothing on the other side, on the Virginia side. So we've come up with we were the one that pushed this solution. Offer a certain amount of money, tell them the boat's got to be crossing the river by a certain time frame. If they get the boat crossing the middle of the river by that certain time frame, they get $3 million, which burns me, because that's taxpayer dollars. Again, most of it's county, some of it's Poolesville, but it's taxpayer dollars to give to rich people. Very annoying, but the ferry is very important to us. So, $3 million, you have to have it crossing the river by June of next year, end of June next year. And then nothing else. We'll give you all the engineering that you want. We'll give you all the lawyering that you want. We will donate all this to you, and we'll give you $3 million if you have the boat crossing the river by that time frame. End of solution. There's no more negotiating. We'll help you come to the table. You can meet in our offices. You can meet here in Poolesville. You can meet down at the county. You can have all the expertise of all the people involved. There's plenty of expertise. They're like, okay, let's have a meeting. We're like, all right, we're going to have a meeting. We've had a dozen meetings. We've had 24 meetings, but we're going to have a meeting now that this is on the table. This is what we're doing. The meeting is held. Link and I didn't get invited to us on that one because we've been like the antagonists to some degree. And they have this meeting, and the opening presentation is from both sides. How do we get more money? How do we get more money? Literally, our DOT representatives, Chris Conklin and others, take the folder, fold it up, put it under the arm. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, greedy people. So that was the first meeting. Now they've come back and they are having some conversations, and we check in with them every once in a while, but I can guarantee you this is going to go right down to the line, the end of the line next June. And it's only $3 million to millionaires, multi-millionaires. And so will it make a dent? I don't know, but I could never stand for more than $3 million going from our taxpayer coffers to these rich people, no matter what they did. And it's a goddamn shame that they've done what they've done with the ferry and put us in this position. That's history that will extend way beyond where they've come from and where they're going, that they have essentially cut off through greed. And it is both sides. So when we have this conversation next year, maybe we'll have champagne, we'll pass it all out and say, look, everybody make sure. Yeah, they'll probably want the champagne too. But we'll all toast each other, and if it's not, then we'll know something a little bit more by then. So again, data center probably not going to happen. Go down to White's Ferry. That's what's hopefully the best end result down there. Now, we all have a good laugh at Town Hall because, God, they did such a great job of repaving White's Ferry Road as soon as nobody used it anymore. So thank you, County, for listening to us. We greatly appreciate that. Not needed. Could have been a crappy road, and I feel for the residents, but that was not good. And White's Ferry Grill is always good. So, and we are thankful for that. They actually are getting subsidized a little bit, so by one of the rich people. So, okay. Now we're going to go down West Willard Avenue, right? And then we're going to get into the hot zone of what we're talking about development-wise there. And the development is it's kind of two-pronged for what's happening now. So we're down Fisher, we take a left on West Willard. Here's our $130 million high school, right? And the $130 million high school wasn't supposed to be like it is now, but more money was found, more efficiencies were found, and construction costs got cheaper. So we went from having a brand new high school with the same crappy gym to a brand new high school with even more added benefits and an all new gym. And now we're headed towards all new fields. So I don't think it's short-sighted to say that, and it's thanks to all the people in this room and all the people in Poolesville, that getting Poolesville High School rebuilt has essentially saved the identity of the town. Because it would be a hell of a lot easier to take our 500 or 600 students and farm them out. 150 here, 150 there, 150 there. It's over with. QO could use them, Northwest, even Seneca Valley. That could happen. The new Crown. It would have been much easier to do that than to spend 100 and now will probably be $150 million. So it's the reason why I stayed as a commissioner. It's the reason why we created Fair Access, invest in the high school, get the new high school, essentially save the identity of the town, because a town without a high school is hurting. So we love what's happened down there. I'm going to tell you guys something really cool. A lot of safety zones built into that school. When one of our tours, they tell you you can walk into a room, in a classroom. It's a shame that we have to even think like this. You can walk into a classroom, doors right here, there's carpet over here, and then there's tile here. Like, oh, interesting, floor choices. I'm a real estate guy, don't like a lot of flooring choices. But what happens is if you're a student and there's a lockdown and you stand on the carpet, nobody can see you from the door. And on top of it, the wall that's behind you is bulletproof. So they've made this so they can get in there. This is unfortunately modern school design. And they showed us this, and you walk into some of these rooms, like the music room, that carpeted area is like a curve, and if you stand on the edge of the curve, they cannot see you from the door. So it's really, really smart design. There's also interior passages in the school that can get students and teachers from one end of the school to another, internal to the block of the school. Yeah, without going through the hallways. So, good stuff. Yes?
Do you know if I know Linda Foley had put in a bill, and I don't know if they did it there, where there would also be a dedicated panic button in the school, that school staff could communicate right away to
Yeah.
EMS and police if there was an issue. So I don't know if they did that since it's new.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, but I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, that makes sense. They've spent some real bucks on making these other safety zones. So anything that has good technology that way would probably be something they've embraced. So the high school is going to be better and different than what it was even when we forced them essentially to redo it. They'll never do it again, right? They've already told us that. We're never going to rebuild a school while the students still stay in the school, basically in the buildings that are being redone. So that's okay. We have a bunch of troopers that live in this town, right? So you see a high school, you see somebody that's a high school senior right now, or somebody that graduated last year or the year before, shake their hand. They are the ones that went to school with mud on their feet because of, hopping over the plywood boards and, trying to get to certain places, muddy all the time. They really did a job. Our hats are off to all the students that have done that, and the teachers too, and staff, et cetera. Mark Carruthers, great principal. Just the right man for the job, wanted by every single high school in the county. If they could get him, they would have him. We're really blessed with good principals. Keep it going. We have two other possibilities for development. One is kind of across the street from the high school on Wooten Avenue, right? That's the one that's been most debated. You've heard that there's been a lot of discussion from people on Facebook. I have to tell you that I say it in front of this room, and I'm sure these words will come back to haunt me. That's okay, I'm not running for re-election, is that they don't know what they're talking about, period. And it's scare tactics. And I hate having our residents scared for no reason. The town is going to be very, very judicious when it comes down to what happens with our remaining water and sewer allocations. Very judicious. And we're not pinched by zoning or property rights on several of the places that are left that could be developed in Poolesville. So you can bet that we're going to be very judicious with it, and we're going to be very careful, and we're going to have a very drawn out process, again, almost all through the Planning Commission before things take place. Yes, townhouses have been proposed right there on, right across Wooten Avenue from the high school. They've been proposed, and some idiot wrote on Facebook that, oh, they've already been approved. The town's ready to approve them. They approve everything. Not true. Not true in the slightest bit. Never even made it into our Planning Commission's actual processes yet. And when it does, who knows what end it will meet, because we're not going to be the ones that the commissioners don't determine that. The Planning Commission is going to decide whether water and sewer can be allocated to those areas and whether we have water and sewer allocation for those areas. Yes, we have less water and sewer allocation now than we have in the past. And that's fine. It's planned. That's what our goal is to thread the needle of property rights, water and sewer allocation, and then what does the town need and what does the town want? So our job is to thread that needle all the time. We will see what happens with that property that's across the street. Me, in front of this room, I can tell you what I want, but I'm not going to prejudice the situation by making my feelings known, because that's not my job as a commissioner. The people can tell me When it lands on our desk, then we'll have further conversation about it. But in the meantime, it's in the Planning Commission's hands. And I can tell you it'll be a long process. We also have another proposed development that's down West Willard across the street from the Lennar development that's being proposed by the Jameson family. And the Jameson family is making a proposal for homes to be built there. Again, zoning exists. If there's water allocations, if there's sewer allocations available, the town may have a hard time holding that off. The town may be shaping that as best we can for what happens with that area. But we do not unilaterally have the right to change somebody's zoning. We do have the right to make sure that we have all of our resources lined up and that we do it as scientifically as possible and as proven as possible. So we have to be able to withstand every piece of scrutiny that there possibly can. So I'm going to ease into water. And so, by the way, I love Crossvines. Love what it did to the golf course. Save the golf course, guys. Save the golf course. The burgers at the bar are fantastic. Very good. And they're booked for weddings. They've got a lot of wedding business. So I'm thankful for that. It's not the little hidden golf course that everybody used to love because you could always get a tee time. You could still do that, but the Crossvines itself is an amazing investment in our region, as far as I'm concerned. And a great employer on top of it. To water and sewer resources. There's been scare tactics that have been put out by special interest group. How do we have special interest groups up here, right? That's something that we really haven't experienced. And I get it that there's reasons to lobby for causes that you believe in. I respect that. But at the same time, don't do it at the hand of scaring our residents or impugning the scientific ability of our hired people that work with us, who also happen to be residents. And that's what's taken place over the last several months and a year or so. It's like a playbook. How do you, we don't want to, we want to slam the door behind us. Nobody else gets to come in. We're here. Nobody else gets to come in. How do you do that? What's in the playbook for that? Well, say there's not resources. Ooh. Or how about saying that their resources are mismanaged and they're misunderstood? Or there's other science that the town's not paying attention to on purpose. That, you guys, is a joke across the board. The town is one of the most managed towns in terms of our water and sewer resources that there are anywhere in central Maryland. I'm going to give you a true story. So right now, we've led Maryland in PFAS mitigation and remediation, right? PFAS, no one heard about, well, scientists heard about, but nobody heard about it in the mainstream 5-7 years ago. And certainly we never budgeted for it. That was not an issue. We're trying to figure out how to build parks. We're not, the water comes out of the ground and tests good and we got plenty of it, good stuff. So the town, through town staff and our boards, has totally embraced making sure that our residents have plentiful water, plentiful clean water, and PFAS is the leading threat to that as we speak.
For those of us who don't know, what the hell is PFAS?
PFAS is what they call forever chemicals. And they can come from a variety of sources. One of the sources is like the foam that the fire department uses to put in the ground. Another one is Teflon. And things that end up going in the ground that do not break down. They end up going into our water system and they go into your body and then they do bad things once they get inside you. So the United States, but the Maryland government has had a lot of leadership in trying to remediate PFAS. And we're an interesting thing here, guys. You live in a really cool place because we control all of our own water resources. We kind of know where all of our water resources come from. Again, this is under the ground technology, but we kind of know where all our water comes from. We know it far better than most communities do because of just the way our system is built and our location. So we were able to create and develop PFAS filtration that has become the model of PFAS filtration for the state of Maryland. So we're doing some really cool things that you're going to see. You're going to see some things that are dug up and you'll be like, oh God, another development. It's not that. It's actually where we're going to be taking our wells, which we have a number of wells throughout the town. That becomes our public water system. And we're merging those wells. We're creating a plan that will merge several of those wells all together so we can filtrate one stream that comes out of all these wells. So we don't have to like filtrate at every single well across the town. Big, big cost savings, right? We already done it on our two most important wells, well 2 and 3. Wells 4 and 14 are our next wells coming up that we're going to be doing the same thing for. Now those wells go offline when that happens, right? You're talking about construction. We're building houses that basically are these filtration systems. And we're going to be digging up a lot of ground to merge all this stuff together. But this is the forward thinking of town staff, commissioners, planning commission, et cetera. Here we are, our little petri dish. We have the ability to do this. We're doing it because obviously we want our residents to have healthy water. But on top of it, we're also showing Maryland how to get it done. So I was at MML, Maryland Municipal League, at a meeting, and the mayor for the town of Thurmont comes up to me and he's like, hey Jim, how's it going? I'm like, hey man, pretty good, what's going on? What's happening in Thurmont? He goes, what's this about this PFAS? I'm like, you mean the thing we've already spent like $5 million on remediation for, and you're asking me about what PFAS is? Here's our town manager's number, give him a call, talk about it. We're already delivering the clean water to our residents right now. And we don't want to get, and we never want to be accused of like, oh, we're sacrificing that for any reason. We're spending our money somewhere we shouldn't spend it. So we're a top 5 Maryland site for getting the money from the state through EPA down to Maryland Department of Environment into the hands of Poolesville to help pay for these innovative technologies that we're creating on the fly. They are working. The idea is you create this media that will filtrate the PFAS, and then how much time frame do you get out of the media, right? The media is no good if it only lasts a month, the filtration media. So we want to make it so the filtration media can potentially last for years. So that's what we've been doing for our water system. Last year we told residents, and we knew this was going to be a problem. We told our residents, we're going to have voluntary conservation. Immediately, the anti-development people stood up and said, we knew it. There's not enough water. What are you guys doing building houses? You don't have enough water to build houses, much less, and now we're doing conservation. Well, why did we do conservation last year? Good. Somewhat, but mostly because wells 2 and 3 were offline as we put PFAS filtration on. And it also too because our water tower is being painted and our water tower was empty. And that's where we hold all our reserve, and all of our wells are smart wells. They pump at various rates to make sure that our water tower is full, so then when it filters back out to the town residents on a per use basis, that we have water. We didn't even have the use of the water system. We're basically taking it out of the ground and pumping it into your faucet. So there has to be redundancy, and it's built into the water towers. So we're redoing that. So notice this year, all the construction is taking place. People aren't using necessarily water yet, but these houses are coming. Roughly 100 houses, 320 people, coming, roughly what it comes down to. We have these houses coming. Our water use today is less than what our average water use today is less than what it was 5 years ago. Why is that? Houses are more efficient. People use less water. We don't necessarily water our lawns. We're in the middle of a kind of a drought condition right now, and we have a permit to pump on average 650,000 gallons of water a day by permit, and we can spike up to 950, and our wells can easily produce 950,000 gallons per day. And right now we're averaging in the low 500s. So when you hear about people talking about water redundancy and where we are, don't equivote it to what's going on in terms of development. Equivote it to making sure that we have the best well technology and that our residents by nature are conservationists, which we encourage. But for now, again, we can produce by permit 650 a day easily with our well system, and we produce about 20% less than that right now. And that's without the houses going up. So as we're adding houses, the most we're adding is we're going to increase our town size by 5%. Remember, there's like a 20% gap right now between well production and permit, and we're going to be adding 5%. The town's going to grow 5% over the next few years. And really, at the end of that, there's not much more left in terms of development possibilities. So I love our well technology. I love our water technology. We've done some really cool things down at our wastewater treatment plant that makes us more efficient. None of that is getting cheaper as time goes on. So we had to have a little bit of a tax increase this year, and the tax increase basically just went to waste management and things that we have to do down on that end of town. So all that adds up to is that despite what you might hear, we're still well managed. We do care about what people say. We are conservationists. The boards act independently, as you asked, as you said. And we all, I look at all the members of all of our boards, including the Poolesville Seniors, including WUMCO, including all of our designated boards, our Parks Board, our Planning Commission, Sustainable Poolesville, all the boards that kind of report to the town of Poolesville, Poolesville Day Committee. Everybody is a stakeholder. You tell us what you want. You tell us if you have concerns. We're small enough that we're ready to answer those questions anytime. And we have a great town staff. Now, things are going to be changing. I'm out in a year and a month. Wade Yost is probably not going to stay with us forever, too. And everybody knows Wade Yost is probably the greatest town manager on the East Coast. So we'll see how long he stays. We've been putting Niles to the test, our assistant town manager, and he's doing a very good job. And by the time Wade goes, he'll be leaving. We're breaking in a new engineering crowd. We've had the same town engineers for a long time, so that's going to be changing, too. John Strong is retiring. So we're going to need everybody's input to help keep us and keep things going the right direction as time goes on. I look at everybody here as a teammate, and we want your input, and we're happy to talk about anything, concerns that you have, we can talk about them. I don't respond to every single thing on Facebook, but when somebody blatantly lies, I usually hop on there and try and set the record straight and then get ripped on it. Anyway.
A question, and when I discuss water here, I'm
Yeah.
not discussing how we manage our water here, but you mentioned you went to the municipality, Maryland municipality.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Has there been any contact between yourself or anyone else in town with the whole Maryland Piedmont Reliability Project people over in Howard and Frederick County, which directly addresses data centers trying to
Yes.
get into land and the water.
Yeah, and use of water. Yeah.
And the power rates being given back to the customers. Did that come up there? Because it seems like even if we're not directly affected now, it's right down the road.
So I think when I mentioned that we're proud to have like advocacy groups that we can support, that's one of them that we are tuned up on. And we're not, we're volunteers. The 5 commissioners, we're all, elected but volunteers. So is the planning board. Everybody's a volunteer. We're thankful to have those people like that, and we are in tune with them. And we are going to be, some of their discussion points have been introduced when we talk about data centers on here, between here and the Potomac River, because, you got to have water to run a data center.
Well,
So.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. So you
Yeah.
can turn your knowledge over to whatever the next group of incoming people know.
Yeah.
Because that is going to be a reality to deal with.
I totally agree, and I can tell you the perfect example is, again, not one person talked to us about PFAS 5 years ago. And so the new PFAS will probably be data centers in terms of advocacy. Yeah.
So this is just going to be for a small microcosm of people.
Right, just turn off the cameras. Go ahead. Yeah.
But
It's off. Yeah, we're good. I outran it.
for all the pickleball players in
Yeah.
If somebody could give us an update on what's going on at Stevens Park and when they think.
I think I just saw the last thing I saw was like it's like a week and a half or 2 weeks away. Have we been saying that for weeks and weeks at a time?
I mean, is that definitive?
That's what they've said. Yeah. But I'll report back to you and I'll do a post on Facebook about it. So I'll let you know. Let the guys know. Ann.
This will be my last question.
Sure.
But since elections are coming next year,
Yeah.
including for county executive.
Sure.
And also, to be fair, regardless of anybody's politics.
Sure.
We have had good working relations with our county.
Yes, we have.
people, and that has helped us get what.
Absolutely.
So could we please, it's actually not a question or request, it would be really helpful to have all the candidates for county executive come up here for an open forum, like we've done for a couple things in the past. So at one time, in one place, they all answer the same question, not separate here and there and there.
No, I think so. We're going to do two things. I mean, we're going to have multiple forums. Fair access in the town of Poolesville is going to have multiple forums. One, it's just to raise awareness of all our issues, of course, but then secondly, to, we've built something. They actually care about us now. So we're going to have them come up and talk about the things that we're going to ask very Western County and Poolesville-centric questions, in addition to the regular questions that we have to ask in a broader sense. But I can imagine that we're going to have the county executives candidates, we're going to have the county council candidates, including the at-large candidates, which are our people too, right? We have to have our district and all the at-large candidates as well. And we're going to have all those guys and ladies come up and be a part of it. So it's really funny. Link and I were talking about, we have our Poolesville Day breakfast coming up. And that is it's a schmooze fest, but it really is to outline, and we have a nice little tight program set up to outline what our needs are and to continue our advocacy. It's like all hands on deck for all of our town staff and all of our boards. And we're going to be pressing the flesh with all these candidates, the candidates that are declared, the candidates that are undeclared, the people that are currently in office, the people that don't know if they're running yet. We're going to get them all in the same room and talk about the most important things to Poolesville. But it's really funny. I was telling Link that we're going to have a lightning round where we're going to ask the 3 county executive candidates to stand up. Yeah, all 3 prominent ones so far. We don't know who else is running. Evan Glass, Andrew Friedson, Will Jawando. And we're going to ask them, likely, we haven't formulated this, we're going to put it together, but we're going to say, we say Poolesville, you say what? So don't tell them we're going to do something like that, because we're going to call them out and really see what their reaction is. Now, we know if Mark Elwards was running, it would be 20 minutes, and we're not going to let that happen. We're not going to let that happen. So, all right, any other questions, guys? I know Bill's giving me the sign. Yeah, John, and I'll get you in just a second. Hang on.
How are we going to accommodate the community by way of like a grocery store? Have any thoughts or what? I haven't heard anything.
Thank you for asking. So what's happened is that, again, the money doesn't work, right? The money doesn't work to create and invest in a grocery store as it stands right now. But we're open to opportunities, and we're open to potential people that have talked about operating and being able to do something at I think I just unplugged this, sorry about that, or whoever it was. I think we've worked out something where we're fishing, we're talking to people. We want to do something with a grocery store, but as we've been waiting, there's more services, right? Harris Teeter Deliverers, Sam's Club, Costco, Amazon's going to be dropping things on a drone into your front yard. It's like, how do we take these profit margins that are minuscule in the grocery store world and translate that to something that would help Poolesville? So at Steve Goldberg's place, do you know where that is? It's like right next to the post office, the little house next to the post office. We've talked to Steve at length about a concept that could be like a general store that would have goods to sell, but also be a place where people could gather. That's like the kind of ideas that we're having, that we're trying to come up with. But a straight up grocery store, I really don't see it happening. People have come to me on a regular basis. Hey, Jim, have you ever talked to Trader Joe's? And I'm like, yeah, I have.
3,000 people in a 10-mile radius is what they told me.
How much is it, 50? 50,000? 30,000 people in a 10-mile radius. Well, there you go. And we've heard some people that have actually talked about coming to Poolesville to supply things that we want. We would definitely have a grocery store, or another good restaurant, or something to add to our town vitality. And we've actually approached, and by the way, I'm not paid to do this, I'm not paid to do any of it, but we're not out there as like these public recruiters for these businesses, but we do talk to anybody that will talk to us. And we've heard from several people, hey, call us when the ferry's running.
Yeah.
Give us that extra 1,000 people coming through town. One thing I did have was, so we had a funny traffic story question the other day, which made me laugh. So when the new developments are built in Poolesville, there will still be less traffic than there was when the White's Ferry was running. That's what the traffic studies say. So we've had some people out there that are like, And what are we going to do with all the cars? And it's huge. Look, we have traffic 2 times a day, when Poolesville High School is letting in and when Poolesville High School is letting out. And yes, it's part of it. Yes, ma'am.
Letting out. Is there a new traffic pattern from there? Because I was out walking when school got out, and there were like 30 buses that came down Western, which is not their normal pattern.
Right, and they have changed the pattern, and they don't tell us. It's MCPS, and we actually helped shake them a little bit when they were gathering in another place and said they couldn't do it, and they came up with something different. So
I'm wondering if that in response to all the construction on Fisher and Wooten, or is that a new pattern?
yeah, I don't know. We do see it. It's real.
So I have
So,
a quick question,
sure.
comment.
Yeah.
Our current trash collection.
Yeah. How about a round of applause?